Hello, friends. My name is Jimbo Ivy, and on behalf of the City of Corvallis Parks and Recreation Department, I'd like to welcome you to the virtual cornucopia of Zoom entertainment that we loosely refer to as Quarantainment at the Majestic Theater. Whether you're here for Majestic Peace Theater, Friday Night Funny, or our Sunday Playwriting Showcase, I'd like to thank you for helping keep our performers, writers, and technicians engaged with your patronage of these free performances. Since the pandemic began, we've had dozens of these performances, and they represent hundreds of hours of work by hundreds of volunteers and staff in very challenging circumstances. A pandemic, a racial justice revolution, conflagrations, a seemingly endless string of tragedies, and yet they come back every week to bring their passions to our community. Why? Because they are majestic. And so are you. And we need your help to keep the show going during this bizarre year of 2020. In order for the Majestic to keep arts and culture alive in our community, we need you. We need you to keep coming to our free shows, but also we need you to buy tickets to our live-streamed paid performances. We have such shows planned for every month through the end of our season. But without your support, we won't be able to make them or continue to support our free content. With our Pick What You Pay model, you can pay as little as $10 to see them, or if you can, pay as much as you like. We need you to share with your friends and family how much you enjoy these shows and encourage them to catch the next performance and the one after that. And for those of you that are able, please consider donating to the Majestic now or during our holiday donation drive. Because of reduced revenues, we have cut our staffing and spending to the bone. But we still have a donation goal of $100,000 to hit this year to make it. So, if you can give, please give. We have struggled before at the Majestic, as all arts venues do. But now is the time, my friends. Now is when we need you the most. And we'll make it. Why? Because we, all of us together, are majestic.
Hi all, thanks for joining us today for the Sunday Showcase at the Majestic Theater, which is where we do cold readings of plays by local playwrights. Today is Thesbian Tendencies, 3 short plays by Allison Fradkin. Thank you all for joining us today. Unfortunately, our playwright couldn't join us, so we're just gonna get started. And so we'll get started with And Then Some with Lauren Stalford and Ariel Hicks. All right. The synopsis. You're raspberry cordially invited to Prince Edward Island, home of Carrot top-of-the-line literary heroine Anne Shirley and her bosom friend Diana Barry. These kindred spirits have some contemporary company. Vernie and Cori, 2 teenage visitors who meet for the first time while having a field day at Green Gables Heritage Place. Is it love at first sight? Anne and Diana solemnly swear their faithfulness to one another within minutes of meeting, while Vernie and Cori duplicate their devotion. At Rise, Vernie and Cori, arms across each other's shoulders and a scrunchie uniting their ankles, bumble across around a picnic table while practicing for a 3-legged race.
Here's a question for you. If Megan follows, who leads?
Shoot. I can never remember the actress who plays Diana Barry.
Megan follows. Clearly, she doesn't live up to her name, which is why her portrayal of our Carrot top-of-the-line literary heroine remains unquestionably unfollowable.
She may be stretching the truth, Cori, but you are stretching my scrunchie.
I don't follow. Now perk up and pick up the pace. There's only one sure way to have a field day on field day, and that's to come out on top. I know Anne Shirley said next to trying and winning, the best thing is trying and failing, but she only got there after achieving a modicum of maturity, and I don't think we're there yet.
How did I get roped into this?
Why, you were on my side during the tug of war. Naturally, I needed you at my side there for the 3-legged race.
You're sure it's not because I'm the only other participant who doesn't require a grown-up to hold their hand when they cross the street?
All right, fine, you got me. And I got you by putting on the pressure.
Yeah, the peer pressure.
Well, you had the peer part covered perfectly. You were delightfully and disturbingly pliable. But you look like a scrunchie, and you act like one too.
If anyone asks how I spent my summer vacation, I'll say I was a yellow-bellied visitor at Green Gables in a gray area with an off-colored companion.
Gray area, huh? Are you experiencing feelings of ambivalence? Usually when someone develops a love-hate thing for me, it's in the context of either or. I've never met somebody who was torn.
I find it hard to believe no one's ever gotten attached to you before. I mean,
Bernie's verbal stumble results in an actual fall, during which her passport tumbles out of her pocket.
Hey, our passport to victory.
if you don't give that back this instant, Cori, I swear.
Don't you dare. It's dreadfully wicked to swear. Diana would hasten to chasten you.
Chastise you.
Get ready to.
A comical tussle ensues, complete with improvised exclamations and protestations.
Get it.
Cori emerges the victor, whereupon she opens the passport and flips to the identity page.
Gadzoots, jeepers, and egads. Your full name is Laverne Anne Shirley? That does it. I think I'm in love.
Huh. And the recipient of that love would be?
Your government name, obviously. For further clarification, it was love at first sight. Sight with an E. It's much more distinguished that way. Green Gables Heritage Site, to be site specific. Wait a second. How can your name be Laverne when... Oh, you introduced yourself as Vernie. I thought you said your name was Bernie, as in Bernadette. While we're on the subject of introductions, I demand to meet your folks.
Why?
Thanks to them, you are an amalgamation sensation. All mine ever called me was Cordelia.
That's Anne's dream name.
Well, isn't yours yours?
Well, it looks good on paper, but it sounds like a rejected before and after puzzle on Wheel of Fortune. My mom said she picked it in case I turned out to be shy, like her. She figured a name like that would make an exquisite conversation starter.
You were conversing pretty exquisitely when we were on a nickname basis.
Yeah, well, you started it. It's always easier when someone else makes the first move. Hey, maybe I should go by LA.
When, on your way to the gift shop?
I'm referring to Lucy Maud Montgomery, better known as L.M. Montgomery.
LM? Okay. LA? NO. You're from Milwaukee, Oregon.
Do you really expect me to take labeling advice from a person who goes by Cori when their name is Cordelia?
You tried telling tourists and Prince Edward Islanders that your name is Cordelia.
Mm-hmm.
First, they look at you like you burgled their beloved brooch, and then after you've provided proof of your identity, they fawn all over you as if you're a dress with puffed up sleeves. It gets old after a while.
I thought you liked old things.
I do.
In fact, one might say your tastes are positively antiquated.
Must you be so excruciatingly winsome? It would help if you were homely, or at least slightly unsightly. If you blush any harder, Vernie, your face will be redder than the maple leaf on the Canadian flag. You look like you could use a drink.
Oh.
Another facial faux pas? Now your eyes are wider than embroidery hoops. Want a sip? Flask and you shall receive. Don't worry, it's not currant wine.
You're offering me expired intoxicants?
No, currant wine was what Anne gave Diana by accident instead of raspberry cordial, remember?
I remember. I just forgot. What exactly are you giving me on purpose?
Raspberry cordial, of course.
Okay. Oh, it is raspberry cordial. And it does taste currant. Ooh, out of curiosity, Cori, is flask ownership common among teenagers where you're from?
Not only is it customary for young adults of Corvallis to carry shiny silver containers whose contents are teetotally safe to consume, it is compulsory. Seriously, though, it makes me feel thoroughly bad and wicked, without having to compromise my squeaky cleanliness.
You're from Corvallis? That's not unreasonably far from Milwaukee, Oregon.
Well, I wouldn't want to get too close.
Good, because I wouldn't want to go too far. Oh, did that come out wrong?
Is there a wrong way to come out? Probably. I wouldn't know. I do everything right. I do nothing by the book, except, for the one that brings me here year after year.
How long have you been coming out here?
Oh, this is my first time, but I've been coming here every summer since I was 11. I'm now in the 6th year of my routine.
So one might say your visits are an annual occurrence.
There you go again, facilitating my tourist attraction.
I didn't mean to intoxicate you.
You didn't?
Did I? Wow, Green Gables is, super green. Have you ever noticed that? It's a bucolic frolic of gumball green, Girl Scout green, stuffed Stegosaurus green. I'm green too, in a way, because I'm new here. This trip was a sweet 16 birthday present from my parents. Do you still want to meet them? Maybe later. They're probably still on their nature walk.
Lover's Lane or the Haunted Wood Trail? If they're on the Haunted Wood Trail, there's a really good chance that my folks will scare them off.
Oh.
They're not ominous or anything, just clamorous. They like to sing. And amorous. They love their love songs.
My parents are on the same trail, but a different wavelength. They'd never disturb the peace. They're delightfully and disturbingly peaceful. Like, me.
Well, the Shirley spawned a mini Matthew Cuthbert. In terms of temperament, I mean. Also, bucolic frolic.
I'm not always subdued. Sometimes I'm hyperbolic. Hey, do you want to keep practicing? The activities are going to start back up in a few minutes.
Okay. Maybe we should try different arm placement this time.
You mean like waist instead of shoulders?
Sure.
I thought you said you didn't want to get too close.
That's old news, Vernie. Out with the old.
Okay, then.
They resume practicing and are moderately more coordinated this time.
Why, we're closer than pleats on Anne's pigtail braids.
Yeah.
So, how well do you know your namesake? The before and after parts of the before and after puzzle.
Pretty well. I've watched Vernie and Shirley on the Logo Network. The one with programming for diverse audiences. They play classic sitcoms that have
More subtext than substance.
Right.
Like that episode where they're getting ready for a double date. And Laverne, she can't do a thing with her hair, so she puts on this curly wig that's like bowling ball black. And she wants to show it to Shirley, but Shirley's in the shower. So instead of asking Shirley to pull the shower curtain back and stick her head out, what does Laverne do? Laverne tells Shirley to turn the nozzle down, and then she sticks her head in. Who does that?
Someone who wants to see her BFF in the ultimate state of dishabille. What? Anne says if you have big ideas, you have to use big words to express them. Haven't you?
And Diana says, you're a queer girl, Anne.
Then she says, I heard before that you were queer, but I believe I'm going to like you real well.
I believe you will too. That tends to happen when you're fastened to someone so...
Fascinating?
Yes, you are a killer filler in the blanker. And you learned from the best, and no, I don't mean exclusively me. I'm also talking about Ms. Montgomery, who, in that observation Diana makes about Anne, could have picked any other word, but she chose queer, which means something different, literally. And that gives their whole relationship an enchanting, open to interpretation quality, depending on who's reading it and when.
Plus, they were always so affectionate with each other, always talking about how much they loved each other and how inseparable they would always be.
And that kiss in the Anne of Avonlea movie. I know what happens right before Diana gets hitched, so it's more of a parting pucker than a starting one, but it still means something to someone.
Kind of like when Shirley thinks the airplane that she and Laverne are on is in for a crash landing, and she grabs Laverne and plants one on her. She would never have been able to live with herself if she died without latching onto those lips at least once in her life.
Yet another case of take it where you can get it while you can. It's so sweet how Shirley wanted them to go together, and it's so sad that they never got to go together after they didn't.
What the hell, right? But people would have gotten all up in arms.
And not the way you're all up in mine. No, ma'am, they would have been properly horrified. Speaking of which, have you been inside Matthew and Marilla's house yet? There's a human hair wreath on the parlor, the old school speak for living room. Someone took a lady's locks and pruned, festooned, and framed them. It's basically the vintage version of loom bracelets. I guess it's not really that horrifying. It's actually pretty cool and intricate, and who knew there'd be something there that's even more queer than...
Vernie kisses Cori. Cori responds receptively and reciprocally.
You're right. It is easier when someone else makes the first move.
I thought of shying away from it, but then I thought, if I had an L on my shirt like Laverne, I wouldn't want any of the multiple interpretation it's open to be lily-livered.
No one would ever think that. Hey, do you think they saw?
Our parents?
No. Why? Did you hear something? If so, please don't name that tune. We can have an our song someday, but I don't want a their song today.
I don't hear anything. Not even the sound of my parents clapping on the inside so that they don't embarrass me or themselves on the outside. But if not them, then who?
Anne and Diana. They are kindred spirits.
Yeah, but they aren't kindred spirits, are they?
They're whatever we imagine them to be.
Thanks for reciprocating the kiss. If you hadn't, it would have been the most tragical disappointment of my life.
I know I would have been in the depths of despair if you didn't reciprocate my starting pucker.
Here's a question for you. Would you like to be my bosom friend, Cordelia? Specifically a friend who's with a bosom, who's more than a friend. I know it's a little insta-lovey. I mean insta-likey. No, I do not mean that utterly unsophisticated thing. What I do mean is that we're practically neighbors and, well, I'm not trying to put peer pressure on you or anything, and there's no need to race against time, but there is a need to race against those people over there. Shall we go? Together?
On the count of 8.
They share a knowing look, link arms, and proceed to emulate the opening chant and choreography from Laverne and Shirley.
1, 2,
2,
3,
4,
5, 6, 7,
7,
8.
8.
They trip all over each other and end up sprawled on the ground.
Schlemiel.
Schlemazel.
How's about a date tomorrow?
Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. Gee, I don't know. You're short one syllable.
Oh, Mrs. Lind, I'm so extremely sorry. Please say you forgive me, Mrs. Lind. Come on, it's a cruel summer, leaving me queer on my own.
You're mixing up your mediums.
Well, you started it, Laverne and Shirley.
Fine, be that way, and I'll be there with L's on. Where should I be?
Why, you are raspberry cordially invited to join me on a carriage ride around the Lake of Shining Waters.
I accept. That's for sure and certain. You don't even have to twist my arm. Just, my ankle. Because if that's the kind of date we're going on, then I really did come out on top on field day.
Splendid. Wait, your ankle's not seriously twisted, is it?
No, but you are. If anyone asked how I spent my summer vacation, I'll say I was a red-hot visitor at Green Gables in a gray without an R. It's much more distinguished that way. Area with a true blue companion. Not that I can definitively declare that true blue thing yet. That's impossible.
Never heard the word impossible. Not when you're doing it our way. Just like Anne and Diana. They solemnly swear their faithfulness to one another within minutes of meeting. Why shouldn't we duplicate their devotion? So in response to your question, Vernie, you know, the one about being your bosomy more than a friend, well, this kindred spirit's willing.
Well, this kindred spirit couldn't have asked for a better answer.
And that was And Then Some. Cori was played by Lauren Stalford, and Vernie was played by Ariel Hicks. Next we have It Ain't Over Till the Pink Lady Sings. Theater is an ensemble of inflection, projection, and rejection. So in Marva, a performer who's part ingenue, part dreamgirl next door, desires a duet with Winifred, her BFF on stage and off. She has no idea how to go about going from pink lady to pink lady friend. Will the entrance of Francine, a triple threatening romantic rival, prompt Marva to act on her feelings before the curtain closes on her chances? At Rise, Marva and Francine, via Zoom chat, are reflecting on a recent rehearsal for the pajama party scene in Greece.
I really flipped over the gay cashmere sweater. Did I seriously sing that?
It's about time you knew the score. But hey, I get it, Marva. You're not only fresh out of the closet, you're also fresh off the book.
Thank you. And I was perfectly content to continue, which I would have been able to do if you all hadn't proceeded to bust a gut and my chops about my little malaprop.
Technically, we were delayed by your little serenade. Rehearsal stopped cold because you have the hots for the, titular Freddie in Freddie, My Love.
Cut the gas, Francine, okay? Winifred doesn't even go by Freddie.
But you really did a number on her, didn't you? When I'm waiting in the wings, I have a clear view of the onstage goings-on. And you, Marva, we're going on and on about Freddie, your love, crooning and swooning and mooning all over her. It was gutsy, yet putsy, humiliating, yet exhilarating. All in all, a perfect way to convey the affection with which you are filled. You could flirt with all the guys.
Exactly, Francine. Unlike Rizzo, my character, Marty flirts with all the guys.
Not guys, Marva. Guys. Geez, do I have to spell it out for you? Okay. Yes, I do. Guise, as in guise of thespianism. If I were you, I'd do something a little more outrageous, advantageous, courageous. Look at me, I'm Sandra D, lousy with affinity. For my best friend, she is the living end. Wish she'd be my steady.
Okay, Francine, you made your point. You were miscast as Sandy. You'd be Bofa as Rizzo.
Why be a pink lady when you can be a leading lady? Which is why you need to follow my lead before someone slightly less subtle swoops in and sweeps Winifred off her tootsies. A girl like her is cruising for a schmoozin'. What with that positively peachy personality, that pair of passion pit perfect lips, she don't need no ciggy butt to be smoking hot.
Yep, she's the ginchiest. Anyone would be kooky not to have a crush on her. Wait, are you
Kooky?
a threat?
Of course I'm not a threat, Marva. This is musical theater. I'm a triple threat.
But I thought you were, you know.
Hey, just because I'm a scintillating synthesis of Tinkerbell, the fairy godmother, and Glenda, the good witch, does not mean I am straighter than a magic wand.
You're getting your musicals mixed up.
More like I'm getting them fixed up. You know that lyric in your solo about someday being held in Freddie's arms? Well, I'm angling for an ultra clutch. Now, since we're still in rehearsals, it may not be 5 to places, but it is most definitely 10 to 1 that you had better act on your feelings before the curtain closes on your chances. As my alter ego Doris Day would say, whatever will be mine.
Better alter your ego, Miss Sandra Dethroned.
Ooh.
You said you saw me crooning and swooning and mooning all over her. Did you happen to see her doing any or all of the above in a mutual manner?
Oh, are you asking asking Francine your friend or Francine your romantic rival?
That depends. Is doubling allowed?
Absolutely. As Norma Desmond declared, I can play any role.
I wish I knew which role Winifred wants to play. Freddie, my love, or yours? Wonder what she's doing now.
Being dutifully delinquent, that's what. She stays after rehearsal to get fitted for her Frenchy wig, remember? Can you believe that Winifred, of all people, is doing a rendition of a beautician? But she can't wait to doff that coif.
You should have seen her at slumber parties when we were kids. She would play ice cream parlor, pizza parlor. She would even play tattoo parlor, but she would never play beauty parlor.
Huh. Hulks at blow dryers.
Cringes at curling irons.
Ooh, and hates the heck out of hairspray.
Are you kidding? I'm severely smitten with hairspray. Marva and I first saw it in 7th grade, and the very next day, I went and bought saddle shoes just like Penny Pingleton wears. Then I returned them because they looked too much like pandas, and I was afraid I was committing animal cruelty.
Oh.
I know. The whacker, the berry. Speaking of which, my Frenchie wig really razzes my berries. Unreal, right? Because normally I don't do do's, but this one is just so nifty. If Gwen Verdon, Pippi Longstocking, and Little Orphan Annie put their heads together, they'd get mine. Hey, did you hear? We might be doing Annie next fall. Too bad I'm too old to play her.
Oh, it's not just the age, Winifred. It's the aesthetic. Little Orphan Annie would have to grow out of her ugly duckling stage. No, she'd have to deliver a good hard knock on its homely hiney before she could have the privilege of being played by you.
I played Annie once. Yeah, and not just any Annie. Annie Oakley.
Oh.
I was a real pistol. In fact, my performance was, well, you had to be there.
I was there, silly.
It's pretty silly of her to think that just because she's played some sexy sharpshooter in a show, she somehow has a shot with you, isn't it?
A shot?
Yeah, like of Novocaine, like the demented dentist refuses to give Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors. Now that's a show we should do.
Yeah, and you could call the principal character the unprincipled plant, Freddie, too. If you're A-okay with sobriquet, Winifred.
I don't know why, but I'm beginning to experience more curiosity than all the cats and cats combined.
If memory serves me correctly, the friends to lovers scenario has been done before. Plus, you couldn't possibly prefer a real-life ingenue / dreamgirl next door to an honest-to-goodness prima donna who makes Motormouth Mabel's colossal confidence seem supremely undersized, could you?
Marva?
Don't ask.
Okay, then. Don't tell me more, Francine.
If we could start anew, I wouldn't hesitate.
Oh, yes, you would. You are habitually hesitant, Marva. And by the way, BTW FYI, that lyric you just quoted is from the song Tears on My Pillow, which is from the screen adaptation of Grease, not the stage show, making it entirely incompatible with this conversation. Yet another reason why the queers on your pillow remain singular, not to mention single.
You know what, Francine? This little love triangle.
I am in a love triangle?
Don't flatter yourself. It's my job, although it would be marvelous if Marva could lighten my load a little. Unfortunately, instead of being somewhere over the rainbow with you, she's somewhere that's green with envy by herself.
Do you ever think that maybe it's hopeless for you to be so devoted to Francine? You want to talk compatibility? Okay. Winifred and I, we go together like Ava Perón and Patti LuPone. Winifred and you go together like Lena Lamont and Lena Horne.
Ugh, finally, you're picking up your LGBTQs. Listen, I'm sorry, not sorry to tell you this, but Marva, I am not your romantic rival. I am your matchmaker. A fact I'll bet you never knew, as evidenced by your acute obtuseness.
How was I supposed to know you were putting me on?
Is this because the performing arts department is putting on Fiddler on the Roof in the spring and you've got a yen to play Yenta?
I'm sure we can all agree that I'm a much better suited for that part than I am for the part of your love interest, Winifred. As it turns out, I can't play any role, nor do I want to. Have neither of you noticed that I've been casting an eyeball at the chatty bratty Patty and the other eyeball at a keen unseen Eugene? Of course you haven't, because the two of you have been too busy being helplessly devoted to each other since freshman year, and probably prior to that.
Better helpless than marvelous, I guess.
Ooh, that gives me an idea. Next semester's scene study class will unofficially be known as Francine Study. Well, you must admit my performance was unmatched. As a result, that word no longer applies to you guys. Hopefully, you are relieved, not peeved, that I deceived you, right?
Well, like Oliver, the narrative of any good musical requires a twist. This must be yours.
And who wants to be in a love triangle anyway? Love triangles are so square.
In other words, you'll thank me later. I mean it. I expect an avalanche of appreciation for this activation ASAP. Oh, and remember, girls, a relationship is not a hairdryer. So, don't blow it. Mwah! Bye!
I like her, but not like that.
Ditto. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. I feel like I've gone up in my lines, you know? I've got that majorly jittery feeling I always get right before an audition, but I've also got this ever so slightly suddity one I always get right before the cast list is posted.
Are you hoping for the role of Pink Lady Friend?
Only if there's a possibility of an extension. My heart is set on more of than just a showmance.
Oh, I can pretty much promise you an extension. Do you have any idea how many times I stood in front of the mirror practicing my I have a dream girl speech? I'd say, "Hey Marv, I get a kick out of you." And you'd say, "Aw, that's sweet, Winifred, and I get a kick out of you." And I was so sure that after you finally come out, you'd finally come on to me. But alas, you did not. You better shape up, because I don't need a man.
I am in ship shape, okay? Relationship shape. Did you take any initiative?
No, because I was afraid if our relationship didn't work out, our friendship would go kablooey.
Kablooey? Phooey. I mean, being a couple won't be a cakewalk, obviously, but if I'm going to go singing in the rainbow that I prefer dolls to guys, I won't be all wet if I do it as a duet.
So instead of being all booed up, we'd be all dolled up.
Sounds swell, Freddie.
You can say it?
I can call you Freddie, or I can call you my love.
That all depends on your answer to Frenchie's all-important question, was it love at first sight?
Well, we've known each other since first grade, so... But once I started noticing girls, you were the first girl I noticed, so... Yeah. Yeah, it was love at first sight. What about you? With me?
Oh, I've always marveled at you too, Marva.
Then I guess all that's left for us to do is to lace up our saddle shoes until we're tying a knot they can never sever.
Want me to pair said shoes with my gay cashmere sweater? I totally have one, you know. Roy G-Biv stripes strapped around my foam-free domes and upper arms, which reminds me, next time we play tattoo parlor, I'm drawing my name on your bicep and vice versa.
Is that a prerequisite for holding me in your arms someday?
Someday. Listen, Marva, come tomorrow. We'll be closer than the pooch on a poodle skirt.
Wow. Okay, sure thing. Thinking about it, my heart's pounding already, and my stomach's all twisted up like a balloon animal. And if I were a milk bottle, you could knock me over with a softball.
LOL, but also SOL. That carnival scene is from the screen adaptation of Grease, not the stage show. Plus, neither of those references is even relevant. You've seen the scene, I was there, so everything involved in this conversation is woefully incompatible.
Except us.
Obviously. Now that we've got that squared away.
Yes.
Now we make our true love vow.
As Marva and Winifred close in on their computer screens to share a simulated smooch, Francine rejoins the chat.
I can practically see your hearts fluttering like jazz hands. I knew if I waited patiently in the virtual wings, I'd be rewarded with a clear view of on-screen goings-on. And when it comes to this friends to lovers scenario, it's clear that the two of you have got it going on. Carry on. They go together.
Shall we act upon our matchmaker's mandate?
We'd better. She definitely made it sound mandatory.
No kidding. Well, good night, my someone. See you tomorrow.
It's only a gay away.
You log out first.
No, you log out first.
I won't be upset if we do it as a duet.
Fine by me, Freddie.
Steady.
Go.
Marva and Winifred exit the chat simultaneously. And that was It Ain't Over Till the Pink Lady Sings. Marva was played by Brianna Manasseh. Francine was played by Ariel Hicks. And Winifred was played by Ellie Smith. Awesome. And now we move on to our last but not least little play, Not Your Average Joe. During World War II, it was a woman's patriotic prerogative to embrace a man's job. The war enabled women to experience a change of pace and, for the members of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, a change of base. But when South Bend Blue Sox teammates Josephine and Penny develop a war bond of their own, it's hardly the kind the government, let alone the league, had in mind. Will the gals take a crack at a romance that, like a baseball, won't be seamless? Or will they take the base path of least resistance and prioritize the game over the dame? At Rise, Josephine and Penny, members of the South Bend Blue Sox team in the All-Americans Professional Baseball League, are in the backyard of their host's home, rehearsing a colossally campy and alarmingly astute skit lampooning the league's fervent focus on femininity. Though not outfitted in their team uniforms, they are clad in 40s friendly casual wear.
Batter up, hear that call, that cat call that is.
Naturally, the Blue Sox are the bat's meow.
When it comes to femininity, we gals don't hesitate to south bend over backwards for you. This is especially true of my teammate, Jojo D'Angelo, short for Lady Angelo. Of course, lest she be confused with Joe DiMaggio, which would be a no-no, Jojo.
Oh, believe me, I know. The league drilled it into me like a rivet in an A-20 bomber plane.
Speaking plainly, JoJo here has got more steel than the mill she worked at before joining us as an outfielder. Not only is she a model player, she is the model of all models. Don't you worry, this rogue bruise is the only spot of color allowed in this league.
Isn't my strawberry a real peach?
Don't you worry, this gal doesn't bat for the other team.
The Rockford Peaches, that is.
She may be a sore winner, but that beats being the gal who puts the man in sportsmanship.
Lynette Result, short for masculinette.
Don't you worry, I'm really Penny Marshirelli, as girly as it gets.
When it came to looks, poor Lynette was not only batting average, her masculinity was no masquerade. A diamond in the rough is one thing, but a gal can only act so rough on the diamond before folks start questioning her value. The net result, that diamond got cut from the league. If only that dame had done the same as Penny, a shiny and shining example of ladylike likability. She treats each period of play not as an inning, but as a feminine inning. And how could she not with that killer diller figure? Observe as she swishes past us in her Sonia Henny hemline, proving without question that Penny is from heaven. Atta girl, you're really cooking with gas. You've got a real nice swing, you know that?
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that. But were you referring to my bat or my hips?
Your batty, your bat.
Naturally. Don't you worry.
I can't help but worry. We want to poke fun at the league's code of conduct, not conduct ourselves like a couple of rotten apples. If we perform that skit at the team banquet, we'll spoil the whole bushel.
Now, just an apple picking minute, Joe.
I mean, let's just rewrite it, Penny, please? So we'll be safe instead of out. I mean, yes, some players think it's lousy and loony that the league lobs all these rules at us to ensure we look like girls, but I think it's a good move. I mean, it's wise. I mean, who wants a bunch of foul ball players?
With all due respect, Joe.
I mean, exactly. We have to be more respectful. I mean, I've already gotten one warning from management about butchering my hair. Too boyish a bob, they said. So forgive me if some of this is hitting a little too close to home plate.
Is there something you'd like to touch base with me about?
No.
Oh.
I mean, really? You're just going to let that go?
There's no prying in baseball.
I mean, tell that to the Holbrooks, always wondering whether we have social engagements. Our host family is supposed to dote on us and cheer us on, not fix us up. The only reason Mrs. Holbrook wants her little soldiers back home, aside from motherly love, of course, is because she thinks we'd make the keenest couples. I'll take a double header over a double wedding any day.
I'm with you. I mean, I'm in complete agreement with you. And anyway, they're far enough away, so we're safe.
I mean, I just hope they stay out of the picture. I mean, scratch that. I hope they stay in the picture every single hotshot snapshot.
Speaking of pictures, you should wear that lavender blouse for the publicity shots tomorrow. Of course, the photos won't be in color, but it will still look dapper with your infield A-line skirt. And I could draw some seams on the back of your legs like I did last time, unless you got some new nylons. Granted, I'm not great at it. One seam looked like a jump rope and the other looked like the string of a pole-lung duck.
I mean, that's okay. Sometimes it's hard to stay straight.
That would explain my fondness of shapely things like crescent moons and curveballs. And you think we could talk to the team about taking paper moon portraits instead of publicity photos? My folks had one made of their honeymoon, and we would look so cute, cradled in cardboard crescents.
I mean, how do you even pose for one of those things?
You just, get close, like a ball in the pocket of a glove.
Pen, are we people of a kind? Never mind. Let's just pretend that there's an air raid and yank those blackout curtains closed. We want to avoid detection by enemies and traitors or anyone who could hurt us, not encourage it.
You know that song in Oklahoma, I Can't Say No?
We're not in Oklahoma, Penn. We're in Indiana.
I'm talking about the music from the musical, the record I'm always party hard hardball. I should say no to your question about whether we're people of a kind, but I can't do it. I can't say no. It's on the record.
Also on the record is it's a scandal, it's an outrage, and not to mention people will say we're in love.
My kind of people.
I mean, we aren't, though, what they'll say.
Aren't we?
Are we?
I can't say, but they taught us in charm school that the eyes bespoke our innermost thoughts, so we could just, for confirmation's sake, peer into each other's peepers.
Penny takes Joe's hand.
I mean, this reminds me of that one publicity picture where we're all masquerading as manicurists. I mean, it makes sense since the league loves letting the public know that they've given their players polish. Anyway, you were painting my nails and holding my hand, and the way you were holding it, I mean, probably just standard shellacking procedure, but it looked like you were about to lift it to your lips and kiss it.
Penny lifts Joe's hand to her lips and kisses it.
I didn't want people to say we're in love until we'd said it first.
I certainly feel I'm bespoken for, but these feelings, did they come out of left field and smack you in the kisser, or were you always, I mean, me, I blame Ball. Too many girls.
Lucille Ball and Too Many Girls drafted me too. I was 17 when I saw the movie in 1940, and boy, did she make my ticker flicker. Now that Ball's a great catch.
And what am I?
You, Joe, are a humdinger of a gal.
Thank you. And you, Penn, are more riveting than Rosie.
Yeah, well, you've got more brass than a bugle.
Yeah, well, you've got more sand than an hourglass.
Joe.
Yeah?
Now would be a good time to shoot your snoot to me for a smooch.
Joe makes contact, her lips connecting with Penny's like a bat with a ball, but with a smack instead of a crack.
That kiss was more seamless than softballs and baseballs, hurtled my heart right out of the park. You all right, Joe? Your eyes are rounder than canteens, and you look like you're about to make like a pop fly and a plop down. Don't be ashamed of your talents. There we go. But you better be careful with that winning smile. Those chipper choppers might tempt the Blue Sox to trade you to Pepsodont, but don't worry. I fight toothpaste and nail to get you back.
You're lucky I like a little oddball with my baseball, you know that?
Am I the him you just can't can?
I won't even attempt to process that. Not while I'm processing. Us Penn, do you think we stand a chance? I mean, ours is hardly the sort of war bond the government had in mind. And maybe we should just take the base path of least resistance.
We should not. Just because we have to ration our food and our fabric and our fuel doesn't mean we have to ration our happiness too. Why dwell on the swell stuff? Because we know how long this freedom or this league will last. That's why. What we do know is how much longer the season will last.
Yeah, it'll be over before too long.
Do you think the Holbrooks will let us stay with them as long as we don't let on about us? I don't have to go back to the Bronx. Do you have to go back to Chicago?
I mean, no, I'm happy here in Indiana. Who's on first? I am.
So we're both playing for the uncannibal hams, huh? Maybe the head honcho will see us and say, give those lezzies a league of their own.
Well, I mean, that sounds like segregation.
Forget the whole thing.
Right. Sure. Good idea. Come on. I mean, all American girls kissing all American girls. It's not exactly all American, is it?
Joe, I don't mean forget about us. I'm rooting for us. As a matter of fact, I plan to put the mitt in committed, capiche?
Well, as long as your loyalty is as unremitting as mine.
Then you're in. We'd have to get jobs in town to earn a living during the off season. I wouldn't mind working at Robertson's department store in the sweater section or something. Absolutely not at the leg makeup bar.
I mean, I'd love to land a job at the Palace Theater. I could wear slacks.
And you get to see the Lady Ball's next motion picture as often as you please.
Well, that loose seals the deal. Although, truth be told, my answer was yes right off the bat.
With the end cap of the bat against the ground, Jo presses her palm against the knob. Penny covers Jo's hand with her own.
Or right on the bat works too.
As part of our beauty routine, we're supposed to preserve the hands that serve us to faithfully and well in our activities.
Jo places her other hand atop Penny's. Penny places hers atop Jo's.
Let it never be said that you and I don't play by the rule book, which means we're going to last in this league.
What's more, we're going to outlast this war. What's that gal in the poster always telling us?
We can do it.
Her kerchief may be dotty, but she sure isn't. And neither are we.
Plus, it's a woman's patriotic prerogative to embrace a man's job.
True. But right now, I'd rather embrace you.
Please do, my picture-perfect, mutually moonstruck patriot. And if you really want to make our league leader, Mr. Wrigley, proud, wrap yourself around me like foil on a stick of chewing gum.
Jo does exactly that.
Not exactly paper moon portrait proximity, but close enough. We'll get that picture made, Penn. And when we do, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing the gal who hung it.
And I'll be seeing you, the sweetheart I'll always go to bat for. In fact, being together will be a lot like playing ball. Laborious, glorious, and victorious.
There's a pastime and a place for everything. And everyone.
Even a couple of dames on the diamond who got strawberries on their thighs and the apples of each other's eyes.
Before we start this fruitless game of cornball, let's rewrite the skit for the banquet. It won't be presentable, of course, at least not at present, but we can get past that and personalize it. Maybe even idealize it.
Batter up.
Queer that call.
The time has come
for one and all to gay ball.
And that was Not Your Average Joe with Madison Shirley playing Penny and Aranea Push playing Josephine. I'll invite everyone back who performed with us today. Your actors for these 3 performances were Lauren Stalford, Ariel Hicks, Brianna Manasseh, Ellie Smith, Aranea Push, and Madison Shirley. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we hope you can join us next time.